tune into the power of Black scientists. I'm Dejah. I'm one of the co-founders of STEAM Urban. I am also a radical educator. A radical educator is someone who is consciously on the right side of change to enlighten and build our community. Today I'm going to be reading the Black Inventors Science Workbook, focused on energy. This book contains activities based on next generation science standards. The author and creator of this book is Njeri Olatunji. The illustrations are by HOBAE Designs. This workbook aims to develop students' knowledge of key contributions made by inventors and scientists of African descent in various areas of technology and science. Students will also have the opportunity to practice literacy skills by working through the informational text, answering text-dependent questions, conducting research, and producing writing in various formats. Chapter 1, Speed and Energy. This chapter is about Lonnie G. Johnson. Lonnie G. Johnson is a scientist and inventor who worked for the U.S. Air Force and the NASA space program. Johnson was born in Alabama in 1949. Growing up, Johnson was always building and experimenting with science, including the time he created a rocket fuel that exploded and burned part of the kitchen in his home. Lonnie continued to display his inclination for science by entering and winning first place in a national science competition. In his later years, Lonnie Johnson went on to earn a master's degree in nuclear engineering from Tuskegee University. Mr. Johnson is best known for his invention of the Super Soaker, a powerful water play gun that changed the water toy industry. Lonnie Johnson invented the Super Soaker while working on a design for a heat pump that would use water instead of Freon, a chemical that is harmful to the environment. During testing of the heat pump, Johnson caused a powerful stream of water to shoot out of a piece of tube with a nozzle, and the idea for the Super Soaker was born. 10 years after its release, there have been over 200 million Super Soakers sold. That's crazy. This invention remains as one of the top 20 selling toys of all times. The Super Soaker was not Johnson's only successes. He currently holds over 80 patents and was inducted into the Inventor Hall of Fame. Lonnie Johnson is presently working on an invention that will improve the use of solar energy for electricity. The core ideas of this chapter is that the faster a given object is moving, the more energy it possesses, and that energy can be transferred in various ways and in between objects. Here's something to think about. Lonnie Johnson was able to create a water toy that could shoot water further than any other water gun before it. How did he use the science of speed and energy to create the Super Soaker? It is very important for us to continuously support Black authors. The author of this book is Najee. Najee uses his education experience by merging information about Black inventors from around the world with the science principles that made these inventions possible. Thanks for watching!
Peace to the STEAM Urban team and all the scholars who are taking advantage of this program. I am Njeri Olatunji, and I am the author and creator of the Black Inventors Science Workbook. I'm also an elementary teacher and educator who holds a master's degree from Howard University in elementary education and curriculum and instruction. I also have a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Maryland, University College. Just super excited to be joining you all for this Power of the Black Scientists program. Just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I have a few hobbies that I like to do. Love to play basketball and watch basketball. Just exercise, eat healthy. Reading is a big thing for me. I love to read, especially nonfiction books about health, science, history, just really anything. I just really like to learn a lot of information, so that's one of the things that I love to do. Also, food is on the top of my list. I love to go out and eat. I know some of that has been scaled back a little bit because of everything that's going on, but love food and just hanging out with my kids. That's definitely one of the biggest things that I love to do. Once again, looking forward to joining you all for this program. Why do I consider myself a radical educator? So I consider myself a radical educator because I believe in the genius of the children that I work with, and just children in general, right? And so it's a small shift in perception, right? So when you're working with students and scholars as an educator, if you don't believe in that scholar, then you're gonna function one way with that scholar. But if you have the utmost belief in their abilities, right, it's just a little shift in perception. Once you believe, just like a seed, if you're nourishing a seed and you know that seed at some point can bear fruit as long as it's given the proper environment, the proper nourishment, the proper sunlight, water, and everything else, then that seed at some point is going to manifest its beauty, right? And so, as an educator, I know that each child, each student that I encounter is capable of great things and manifesting their brilliance. And so because I know this for a fact, I'm a radical educator because I continually pour into these students, pour into these children to help them to manifest the brilliance that is within each and every one of my areas. My main area of interest is elementary science and elementary education. And on the elementary level, what we're doing is taking complex concepts and breaking it down to a level that's appropriate for a first grader or a third grader, right? And this is really important because science is becoming so important in our world and our society that kids need to learn science the same way that they're learning the ABCs when they first begin school, the same way that they're learning to count. Because one day, that child who learned to do the ABCs when they were little, they'll at some point be writing dissertations and essays. The same child who learned to count will one day be doing calculus and algebra, right? And so giving children the early exposure to STEM starting in elementary school will give them the ability to one day do great things in science the same way they do in their other subjects because they've been learning it all along the way, right? So, for instance, a kindergartner could be learning what happens when the sun goes down, or how come we don't see the moon during the day, right? And as you explain these things on a first grade level or kindergarten level, they're actually learning astronomy. And them learning that astronomy as a kindergartner or first grader will maybe one day lead to that child walking in space on the International Space Station. Who knows, right? So this is why it's important in my discipline, where I focus on the elementary side of science, to really give those early exposures to children at the elementary level. So science has impacted my life in the same way that it's impacted really pretty much all of us, right? From having the computer that we walk around with on a day-to-day basis, which we call our cell phones, to cars that drive themselves, to being able to send money to somebody within minutes, across the world, just using that same phone, being able to have homes that you could talk to and say, turn on the lights, and just so many things that are going on with technology that we see on the consumer side and things that we don't see, is how science has really had an impact on me. And so what this has done for me, one, as a parent, it's really made me focus on making sure that my kids are exposed to STEM activities, whether it's coding, whether it's online programs, resources, books, things we do around the home, like we had a bridge building competition. We also, just find ways to keep them engaged in STEM. So that's how it's really affected me as a parent. And then as a teacher and as an educator, I realized that there are some kids who get little to no science on the elementary level. Some students may be getting science once a week. Some are not getting it at all until they get to middle school, 5th or 6th grade. And so with the way that science and technology is really impacting the world, that's what really pushed me to write the Black Inventors Science Workbook, because I wanted to just contribute something that would help kids who are on the elementary level get some exposure to STEM, get some exposure to science before they get to 5th grade or before they get to 6th grade, or maybe they're in a school that only does science once a week, right? And like I said previously, science is getting to the place where it's it's equally important as reading, writing, and math. And so that's how science has impacted me, because it really pushed me to produce this product. Just seeing how the world is changing around us and how much science and technology is impacting the world around us. So the importance of Black scientists is immense. Black scientists matter because representation matters. I think we have to really think about, like, why does representation matter, right? Because my perspective and my experience is going to be very different from someone else's perspective and experience. And so if Black people or any people are excluded from any area, then we lose that unique perspective that they would bring to the table, right? And in the instance of Black scientists, there have been numerous times where Black scientists have brought something very unique to the table that no one else brought to the table. Just a few examples: George Washington Carver is famous for creating, hundreds of ways to use the peanut plant. And the reason why he was able to come up with all those reasons, all those ways that you can use the peanut plant, is because the South was actually having some issues with the agriculture. And he's the one who came up with the genius and the science behind crop rotation, where you would grow certain plants during certain years, and then you would rotate those crops to replenish the soil. And one of those crops was peanuts, right? So they were now growing peanuts across the South, which now they have a surplus of peanuts, because now they're growing the peanuts not to actually consume them and use them, but to just replenish the soil so they can grow the cash crops that they really wanted to grow. And so this created a demand for peanuts now, because now George Washington Carver has created all these uses for the peanuts. So all these surplus peanuts that they've grown, they now have a use for them, because he came up with all the uses for the peanut. So not only did he come up with the idea to replenish the soil with these peanuts and to save all the cash crops that were struggling prior to this time, he also came up with all the ways that you can use all these peanuts that they were now growing, right? And he's credited with single-handedly saving the agriculture in the South during that time. So another example is Elijah McCoy. Have you ever heard the real McCoy? He created a device that would automatically oil steam engines and machines, right? And so we're talking about the steam engine trains, mining equipment, naval ships, right? And before his invention, they would actually have to stop these machines and shut them down. So the trains, the mining equipment, they had to shut it down and lubricate those machines so they can keep going. His device made it so that they didn't have to stop the machines. It would oil itself. So think about if we were running a race and you had to stop every 5 miles to catch your breath and get water, and I could run the whole race without stopping. How far did that invention put America forward during the Industrial Revolution? They have an invention that allows them to run their machines and never stop them, right? And so that's just two examples of the power of the Black scientists and why Black scientists matter, right? Because we're talking about history changing events that these Black scientists were behind. And so that's the power of the Black scientists. That's why Black scientists matter. And that's why I wrote the book about Black inventors and Black scientists, because I think that all children, especially Black children, need to know that they too possess this level of genius to affect the world around them. What I know today that I wish I knew before is that life is very much like science exploration, right? So you have to conduct the experiment. And as you're conducting the experiment of going through life, you're getting feedback and data from that experiment, right? So you come up with your hypothesis and you test the hypothesis. And then after you test the hypothesis, that feedback is going to allow you to know, like, well, is this something for me? Is this the direction that I want to go in? Or maybe it's not the direction that I want to go in. Especially while you're young and you have the time and the freedom to kind of explore different things. Try those things, right? So maybe it's a sport, maybe it's science, maybe it's art. You have the time and the freedom to explore those things. And so once you explore, that's the experiment, right? So you're getting the experiment and the experience. And from the experience, you get the feedback, which is your data that you're collecting. So you're living your life like a scientist. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I would give to young people, that don't be afraid to try new things and try things that may be different, try things that may be difficult, and try things that may be uncomfortable because they're new to you. Okay, and then once you find the thing that you enjoy doing or the thing that you want to do, don't be afraid of the hard work and the time that it's going to take to really cultivate the skills that you want to get to the place that you want to be. As a teacher and an educator, my plan is to continue to nourish the children that I get the privilege to work with each and every day. As an author, I plan to continue to add on to the Black Inventors Science Workbook series so that scholars in all grade levels can have access to this material and just learn a lot of different subject matter about the many different aspects of science, whether it's life science, physical science, earth science, the engineering design. So that's what I plan to do going forward as an author. Look forward for more editions of the Black Inventors Science Workbook. And I just want to end it off by saying thank you for joining STEAM Urban with the power of the Black Scientist program. I hope you all enjoyed yourself. It was great spending this time with you, and stay curious, keep exploring, and thanks for joining us.